Hi everybody, long time no see. I took a break after the Pig Star quilt, and I planned to wait until the beginning of September to start a new quilt. The first few days were excruciating, and then I got into a bit of a rhythm doing other things, and it was actually kind of nice. Then I got very sick, but I made a good recovery, and I have been back on my fighting legs for a couple weeks now. And I started a quilt while I was sick. So I purchased a whole bunch from Stacked. They had a summer sale. I said I wasn't going to buy any more this year, but I really couldn't resist. I need a little bit of help with my impulse control, but that's okay because I am working more hours at work, so I can afford it, and also I have less time, so this fabric should last me a lot longer. I was going to do a quilt video this month, and seeing as it's the 29th today and I'm working tomorrow, which is the 30th, and there are only 30 days in the month, I only have 2 blocks done. I am using a sized up version of the Spicy Icy quilt, Sawtooth quilt pattern. So today I'm going to give you the measurements so that you can make a block like this, and hopefully you can see it too. Isn't that nice? This is the second block I made. I'm using a mystery bundle from Stacked. I want to go very colorful and very bright and very just fun. The other thing is I'm trying to challenge myself not to use white in every single quilt. It's a pretty simple sawtooth with borders, kind of, if you want to put it like that. I can't remember where I got the inspiration for it. I don't think anybody's got a pattern with this. That's one thing that's kept me from making my own quilt patterns is, what if I copy what someone else has done without knowing it, or like doing it subconsciously? Let's see. You have 2 sets of flying geese, a square in the middle, and then some smaller corner squares and half square triangles. I have the most trouble with getting my flying geese to be the correct size. I am not very good at making accurate flying geese, unfortunately. 3 fabrics are required. You could do 4. I like to have my initial star in the center be the same fabric, and then it's kind of like a background fabric, I guess. Around the outside, I have all of the same fabric too. Kind of keeps it a little bit simpler when you're cutting, that you cut more from one fat quarter. You've got your flying geese, the other color for the flying geese, and then in the corners it kind of looks like an arrow. For this block you will need the following pieces. Please cut from the colors that you use. I will be following exactly what you see on the screen, more or less, I guess. For blue, cut a center square that is 6.5 inches. For the flying geese set B, you will need a 7 1/4 inch square. For the flying geese set A, you will need 4 3 7/8 of an inch squares. For the edge corners, you will need 4 3.5 inch squares, and for the HSTs, you will need 4 4-inch squares. From the terracotta, you will need 4 3.5 inch inner corner squares. For the HSTs, you will need 4 4-inch squares. From the floral fabric, you will need a 7 1/4 inch square for the flying geese set A, and for the flying geese set B, you will need 4 3 7/8 of an inch square. I hope you got all that, because this is a lot of work. For the assembly, we are going to go with the HSTs first. Draw a diagonal line, and then pin and sew. If you're using directional fabric like I am with the terracotta print, be careful, or don't, it doesn't matter. I made it so that I could have my directions going all the same way, so the flowers are upright. Trim your HSTs to be 3.5 inches square and press the seam open. For the flying geese, draw a diagonal line on your smaller squares, pin and sew. Make flying geese, okay? You're going to need them to trim to 6.5 by 3.5 inches, and you're going to press the seams open. Mine did not end up being that size. I'm not very good at this. I think even if you get like 3 by 6.5 or 3 by 6, you might need to adjust with some other pieces. Just be cautious of that. So You're not going to make the same mistake that I did when I made this block. I didn't remember how I assembled it for the first two, and I didn't really want to go back and look. You're going to sew the inner sawtooth together first, and then you're going to add the extra borders for maximum accuracy. Maximum pronunciation, too. Don't do what I did, because not all of my points match up. I should not have sewed it as rows. I didn't trim and I didn't measure, so I have a little bit of an inaccuracy on this block, but it's still beautiful. Next, we get to the pressing chart. I had to draw this. You can press all your seams open, but if you like a good nesting seam, you are going to start from the top, your first row, press your HST seams outward, which means your flying geese set B is going to have its seams pressed toward the center of itself. For the second row, press your HST seams outward and your flying geese set A seams outward so that they are not toward the center of the flying geese seam. And then for your third and fourth row, I guess, which is your flying geese sets A and B and the center square, press your flying geese A seams outward of it so that it will be towards the center and towards the flying geese set B. Just think of it as every other row and break it down. And if all else fails, you can just repress some stuff. I know I do. I hope you enjoy, and I will see you in the next one, where we hopefully put this quilt together, or we won't. I have a couple of fun things going on this year, so we will see. That's all.